Hello everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to ChasingCinema.com's official YouTube channel. I'm your host, Jacob Tiranno, and today I'm going to be doing another week update in my 365-day movie challenge. It is going to be a crazy weekend right now. I know this week I am a bit late, and I apologize for that, but this weekend Life is Beautiful, so I've been running around doing a lot of stuff for that, getting prepared. Just been really crazy. However, I'm going to be doing my Week 37 update today, and then my Week 38 update on Tuesday, so don't worry, they'll be back-to-back. We'll get back on track. I know I said that last week, but I promise you, we're going to get this back in uniform. Well, let's not waste any time, as today I'm going to be talking about my day 253 of the 365-day movie challenge, which was the documentary Twinsters. Now, Twinsters was another documentary recommended to me by Mr. Josh Bell, and this movie is an incredibly touching and personal documentary that follows Sam Futerman as she discovers that she has a twin. They find each other online, they connect, and they end up going to meet in real life. Now, Twinsters is a really fun and creative and well-crafted film that addresses the importance of family. And it's incredibly intimate, and it wears its heart as its sleeve, and that pays off because it really is an emotional movie. These two people you don't know, but seeing them reunite, seeing them looking for their biological mother and look for their origins is really powerful. And, you know, what's really interesting about that is they say a film can really affect your life, depending on what's going on in your life at that time. And this movie came at a time that I was going through something similar. I'm not going to really dive into the details because it's not just me that's involved. But let's just say, I could really relate to this movie. It doesn't involve a twin, but I could easily relate to this movie about finding people online and seeing that you're connected to a total stranger. And to me, especially like just having this happen and then watching this movie, I'm sure affected me more than it would have had I not been in that situation, but I do still think it's a film worth watching. Day 254 of the 365-day movie challenge, I watched the 1999 film from filmmaker Alexander Payne called Election. Election is another masterful satire from Alexander Payne. I think the more I watch his work, the more, dead on he is every time I see him. I feel like his movies have very similarities as far as that they're very character-driven. They give us really fascinating characters, but they all tend to be very different. Election, Sideways, The Descendants. And there's one more that I want to see of his, which I believe is called... no, not Ruth. Something Ruth. And I can't remember the first word, but I really want to see that. I think it's the only other film from him that I've not seen, and I'm really looking forward to it because Election is a dark comedy that is intelligent and is filled with things to say. It gives us great, well-rounded characters, as per usual in an Alexander Payne movie, and excellent performances, especially from Reese Witherspoon. I think it's easily one of her best performances. Matthew Broderick is also really good and kind of out of his element here. I really enjoyed him. But the star of Election is the writing. This film has a phenomenal script, and it addresses some really serious themes, and it's about consequences of our actions and how everyone has personal agendas, and I just found this movie to be so enjoyable that I can't not say Alexander Payne is one of my favorite filmmakers because he consistently hits the mark. Day 255 of 365-day movie challenge, I watched Blair Witch. Ugh. Not a movie I'd really recommend. I did do a full review. Make sure to click that wide eye. A bunch of links will drop down. You'll be able to see my full review of the Blair Witch. But no, if you're not interested, then don't bother. But you should watch my review for support anyway. Or you could just hit that subscribe button down there. But Blair Witch, yikes. The following day, at day 256 of the 365-day movie challenge, I watched the Oliver Stone film Snowden. Now, you could also find my full review of Snowden by clicking that wide eye. A bunch of links will drop down. You could watch my review for Snowden. This was a movie that I actually, I liked. It was definitely a movie that kind of falls in the middle. But I do think that there are some really good aspects about Snowden, especially Joseph Gordon-Levitt's performance. He is really, really good in this movie. But I couldn't wrap my head around enjoying this movie as much when the documentary Citizen 4 really puts you there, right? So in this movie, Snowden, which is a recreation of what happened, which gives us obviously a lot more detail before and afterwards than the documentary season 4. But the majority of the portion of Snowden is Joseph Gordon-Levitt, had escaped to Hong Kong, or Edward Snowden escaped to Hong Kong, and he's talking to these documentarians. Contacts them, tells them a story, tries to get this information out. Citizen 4 is that documentary. And it's just watching that is incredibly more fascinating than it was Snowden. And what's funny is that Joseph Gordon-Levitt did this also, was it last year, at the end of last year with The Walk. The Walk is good, but the documentary that has the real people talking about it at that moment is far more fascinating. But overall, I think it's an alright movie and not one that I would avoid, even though it's done terrible at the box office. Day 257, I watched the 2015 documentary, Raiders, the story of the greatest fan film ever made. And this, if you do not know, is about a film that was 35 years in the making. A bunch of kids saw Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones. And they spent 35 years of, well, no, let's not say that, about 8 years of their lives making a shot-for-shot remake. 7 summers. And, I mean, if you've seen trailers of this, if not, check it out. But they don't do it like you'd imagine a kid film. I mean, they went all out. And some of the things they did is amazing. And I think it's and now, the only scene they weren't able to shoot, before I get ahead of myself, was the plane sequence, where the plane blows up. Now, 35 years later after seeing the movie, and them deciding to make this movie, they want to finish it by putting in that scene, and they go to crowdsourcing, and they're spending a decent budget, and this one gentleman is balancing his kids, his real life job. Other people are finding this movie as a way to save themselves. It's really, really interesting. It's a really fascinating documentary about completing a dream, a childhood dream that's been 35 years in the making. It's a touching film about adults refusing to let their childhood dreams die. There's a really, really good moment when a character is talking about not being, one of the main people, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, he's saying, my son, who's a little boy, I don't know the exact age, but he's like, I'm so proud of you, Daddy, for not letting your dream die. As he's about to be fired from his real job that supports his family. So he's in that decision of I can't let my job down, let my family down, but I don't want to let my son know that I let my dream die either. And it is just, whoa, very real and very beautiful. It celebrates not only the theme of always chasing your dreams, but it also celebrates how film and how it can affect us. These kids saw a movie in the theaters and it changed their lives completely. Most of these people involved in the documentary, The Raiders of the Lost Ark is not just a film, it is a part of their life. 35 years in between. Again, it's not like they worked on it for 35 years in a row, but 35 years of their life had somewhat been focused on that movie. And that's completely unbelievable. It is incredibly long, though. And sometimes it's extremely, extremely frustrating. At certain times in the movie, it kind of goes into the origins of the kids, but it never goes really deep enough to make it worth it. So, in my opinion, they should have just cut it. But again, on the bright side, this movie celebrates friendship and passion. The only thing is that there's a lot of things that, like I said, frustrated me, including that a man almost lost his life for this shot-for-shot remake. And I'm not saying because it's a remake of a film, it's not worth it. Actually, I am. I love the world of filmmaking. I love movies. But at the same time, unsafe practices and doing things that are not safe for your cast and crew is not okay. And it's not like someone was dying for to make a huge statement. I mean, someone just did something. Someone could have died because of something very silly, and that didn't need to happen. And I think that to me was really frustrating, because as much as I support these people wanting to chase their dreams, was almost killing a man worth it? I don't know. That's it's a lot to take in. But overall, I still think it is a good film. Day 258 of 365 Day Movie Challenge, I watched the 2015 documentary For Grace. And this is a Election and For Grace are my favorites of this week because this was a really amazing documentary, especially if you're into food and the world of culinary arts. Me especially, I'm a huge fan of chefs and cooking and culinary arts. So for me, this movie intrigued me a lot more than I think it would just as a regular documentary about a subject I'm not interested in. It's honestly just about a documentary about this chef, Chef Curtis Duffy, opening up his own restaurant called Grace. And it's another documentary, which I've been watching a lot of lately, about the passion of an art. Raiders is a movie about passion about film. Ballet 422 is a documentary about the passion of dance or ballet. And in this case, it's cooking. And though it is wonderful and marvelous to see the work that these people put in, and if you're not familiar with what it's like to be a chef or someone who works in the kitchen for a living, it is extremely difficult. And if you think it's easy and you're ignorant to that, and I don't mean that like as an insult, but if you're just not very aware of what goes on in that kitchen, it's a really big insider, especially at the top level of cooking. But it's really Chef Duffy and his story that make this movie that much powerful. It's filled with passion, and it explores, like I said, the difficult lives of top-level chefs, what they have to put in, and what they sacrifice to be the best in the business. And to me, that's always been fascinating. I love to cook. It's a hobby of mine. It's something I would never want to do professionally, just because, I mean, it's unbelievably what these people endure, and I don't know if I'm cut out for it. And plus, for me, it's more of a stress reliever. So to be in a kitchen for 16 hours, or 12 to 16 hours a day, I don't know if I like I said, I have that in me. But it is a movie that is memorable and will make you cry. It'll make you laugh, but most of all, it will make your mouth water. I mean, the food they put on these plates are just outstanding. And if you're a foodie, you need to really check out this movie. But like I said, this documentary works. For Grace is good because the other side of this documentary, which is above the food, because there's a lot of things out about food now you can find. This is a movie about a man who suffered crippling adversity, but with hard work, passion, and the support of his friends, his family, and even teachers and educators, he was able to bring his dreams of becoming a Michelin star chef to fruition. And to me, there's no greater story than that. And to wrap up week 37 of this 365-day movie challenge, I'm watching the 1994 Joel Schumacher film, The Client. Now, The Client from 1994 is a solid thriller that offers notable performances from the lead actors, Susan Sarandon, Tommy Lee Jones, and Brad Renfro. And it starts off incredibly strong with this intense sequence about a boy who's facing a suicidal lawyer. But it never reaches that height of suspense again. I think this is a really good movie, but it's a movie that suffers in the second half of it. The third act is where the realism for me and the power of it kind of goes out the window. But the movie does succeed on a level, especially because of the honest and very wonderful chemistry between Renfro and Sarandon, and they are really the heart of the movie, and their relationship is what makes it fascinating. And it's a really good thriller, but the ending is just ridiculous. It just kind of takes all the realism and all the interesting parts out of it to be this kind of let's go solve the case type thing, and it kind of wraps things up with a bow. And for me, it left me really unsatisfied with the ending. Though, again, it's still a really good movie, but nowhere as good as Election or For Grace, the two films that I recommend you checking out. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm heading off to Life is Beautiful. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you back here on Tuesday when I do my Week 38 recap. Make sure to check out my review for The Magnificent Seven, the brand new film. Click that Wired Eye Bunch links to drop down. You can find my review for Snowden, Blair Witch, my last week's update, as well as The Magnificent Seven. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video. Also, if you have any suggestions or want to talk about any of these movies, let me know down here in the comment sections below. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jacob Tiranno, and please continue chasing cinema.